Some say playing video games is a form of escapade from the real-life mundane activities. Thus, we understand why game mechanics should regard the value of fun. Yet when we think about it, many of these mechanics that we've encountered in video games hilariously make no sense at all in the real world. Nonetheless, we still play it well because it's all in good fun. What's up, guys? It's me, Mr. Sass. Today we're going to talk about 10 gameplay mechanics that absolutely make no sense. Okay, without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start with number 10. Bed as the only save points. The infamous designated save points. Games like Coral Island, Harvest Moon, or most any other survival, crafting, farming sim. But hey, let's not forget GTA also did this. I mean, come on. That's absolutely making no sense at all. We don't do that in the real world. There's no such thing as saving our life progress by sleeping. So, okay, we do understand that it's a game. So why not let us save anywhere? What's the point anyway? I seriously doubt that the developers cannot think of any better save mechanics. It just makes sense that if your character sleeps, you get some buffs, like well-rested perks, which translate to gaining a higher experience percentage in the game, as seen in Fallout 4. But that's not supposed to be the only way to save my game. If the game wants to auto-save during that time, that's fine. But saving your game should be worry-free. It's a built-in feature, not some gimmick that makes us worry. Come on, this kind of mechanic should be banned already. It's evil, it's not immersive, and most of the time, it's annoying. Moving on to number 9, cosmetic effects for items. Well, yeah, this mechanic is somewhat new, if you know what I mean. Back then, if you wanted to have a good item stat, you just had to sacrifice your character's look. But no, today, it seems that appearance is more important than functionality, apparently. Sure, some games may have a good excuse for us to do so, like maybe it's a magical world where you can alter the item's appearance in some way. But come on. These days, it's just become too common, and honestly, it's an immersion breaker. Well, at least for me. You know that mechanic when you already acquire the items, you can magically change your other similar item with the look from the item you've obtained. My thoughts on this are, instead of giving us the ability to change the visual through cosmetic mechanics, why not just provide us with the ability to alter the physical appearance of our items? I mean, with a little bit more work to do. Okay. Perhaps like painting it, making some parts bigger, smaller, changing certain elements, but not magically changing it completely. That way, we could modify the look of our character without sacrificing immersion. Seriously, this mechanic is just too common now, and personally, I think it's a bit lazy for developers to adapt it in their games. And next, at number 8, is cooldown effects. Okay, this one is a tough one. Sure, games need balance, but why does my character have to take a virtual breather after throwing a knife or executing a super jump? In real life, I can throw a knife as many times as my arm allows, which isn't many times, to be fair. It's like the game saying, oh, hold on. You've thrown one too many knives today, take a breather. I didn't know my virtual self needed a cooldown yoga session. Let me say it perfectly. I really hate cooldown effects. It's not immersive, and it's annoying. We can find this mechanic in many games like Desperados, Dishonored, Guardian of the Galaxy, and many more. Okay, you want to talk about gameplay balance? Fair. But I mean, instead of a cooldown, why not make the action become less effective every time we abuse it? For example, our character could only make an effective throw about 2 to 3 consecutive throws. After that, the damage should be debuffed or make the enemy can easily dodge or parry it. Seriously, if modern games want to evolve bigger, better than we already have now, the developers need to rethink small mechanics like these. Next, at number 7, we have healing food items. Well, okay. We know that many games nowadays, especially survival games, have already tweaked this kind of mechanic. Where most food items don't heal, they are used to fill up your hunger. But yeah, this mechanic, if it's not the most unrealistic ever to happen in gaming history, is the most common. You know, things like eating popcorn in BioShock Infinite, or consuming a Tyvian pear in Dishonored in the middle of battle, which you just find it lying around somewhere, and conveniently as well when you need them the most. Then suddenly, you're ready to get back in action. Forget health elixirs. Why bother with the med kit if you can heal your broken arm by just eating some stranger's food lying around? Come on, you gotta admit it's hilarious. And next at number 6, we have magical reloading mechanics. Now, reloading mechanics. The virtual debate between realism and convenience. Some games get it right, like Mafia, where reloading mid-clip means sacrificing precious bullets. But in many other games, you can reload with half a magazine and not waste a single round. It's like our characters are expert ammo conservationists with a magical pocket dimension for storing extra bullets. And don't even get me started with how many ammos you can carry around. You know, like carrying 9,000 ammos throughout the entire wasteland. The thing is, too many games still can't get this right. I know it's for the sake of the player's convenience, but that's the point. Really, Mafia is the game that brilliantly adapts this mechanic early on. You just have to sacrifice the last few bullets to get a decent shot on the next round. I mean, for example, in Wolfenstein, where you can find ammo literally anywhere. Why not take it to another level? Let mid-clip reloading mean you're about to waste some of your bullets. Or better yet, okay, you will throw your half-empty clip, but you can pick it up. It's more realistic that way, I think. At number 5, we have bullet sponge enemies. To be clear, we're not talking about enemy upscaling. That's just different. I mean, I'm okay with enemy upscaling as my character gets stronger, but for the love of God, you can't deny it's hilarious when you have to spend like hundreds of bullets to kill some random wolf or just some petty monster. Or worse, things like we've encountered in Far Cry New Dawn. Yikes, it's just not immersive. I really like things like what they did in Monster Hunter. You know, when a certain type of monster has its own weakness to certain elements, why not adapt that? For example, okay, remember the Half-Life 2 head crab where you can choose to shoot it, which will cost you 2 to 3 bullets or a simple home run strike with your crowbar. Things like that. For monsters, I get it. It makes sense, but it's just downright hilarious if you can't kill an enemy soldier with a headshot just because they are 5 levels above you. Moving on to number 4, we have sneaking feedback indicator. How many games have already failed to do so? Especially you, Bethesda games. You press the crouch button, then suddenly a big indicator shows you are well hidden or detected. I mean, what in Harry Potter was that? No, real-life sneaking doesn't work like that. You don't know if the enemy can actually detect you or not. You can only guess, or at the very least, read their non-verbal gestures. Like, for example, in real life, if an enemy soldier detects that there's someone lurking about in the darkness, they won't just simply say, "Who's there?" They will stay quiet, go to a well-lit area, and calmly call for backup. I know that some games let you turn off that immersion-breaking indicator, but still it's baffling to think about why that mechanic has been included in the game in the first place. And at number 3, we have item level requirement. Okay, this is downright dumb, if I say so myself. You've just stumbled upon the ultimate weapon, a sword that could make dragons reconsider their life choices. The catch? You can't wield it until you reach a certain level. I get it. Game developers want us to experience a sense of progression, but if I can physically hold the weapon, why can't I use it? Just like in point number 8, why not let us use it but with limitations? For example, you're now at level 10, and you've found a legendary level 50 sniper rifle. There are so many limitations or debuffs I could think of, honestly. Like, okay, maybe the weapon sways like crazy every time you try to aim it. Or you can't use certain features of that weapon, or the weapon simply jams too much. Anything besides simply forbidding us from using it. It's dumb, it's hilarious, and very much an immersion breaker. Next, at number 2, we have the infamous exploding red barrels. For this point, I think it's safe to say that there is no gamer who has never encountered this in their games. You know, at a certain level, where the exploding barrels, which are not always painted in red, are conveniently placed strategically all over the place. I mean, first, what kind of geniuses are putting those barrels out in the open? In the real world, you won't find that, because people who are expecting and prepared to be attacked will never put anything that could harm them. At the very least, they won't hang around near it. Secondly, this is a bit of lazy game design, I think. I understand that maybe the developer wants to showcase the explosion effect, or just wants to make the gamer feel entertained. because admittedly, sending some virtual goons to the sky did feel good. Nevertheless, at this point, I think there's no way back anymore. I mean, both of us gamers and the developers somehow agree that the exploding barrels are somewhat useful and fun. Well, it helps the gamer engage more with the game. As for the developers, it's a tool for guiding us without saying, hey, you can skip this part quickly if you shoot those barrels, you know? Nowadays, we gamers already know that a particular barrel or box can be shot to explode, be it to progress faster or simply to wreak some havoc. Still, if we think about it, it totally makes no sense at all. And finally, at number 1, we have high buying prices, but lower sell prices. Okay, this one is the most annoying one. Too many games adapt to this mechanic. I mean, dude, I just bought the same combat shotgun from the same vendor. Suddenly, after the shopping interface is closed, the price comes from $65 to $30. Not just that, I found the rare item in my adventure which said it valued around 300 gold or something. Then when the shopping interface is opened, the price becomes lower than that. And it gets funnier. After the transaction is done, you return to the same vendor, and the same item you just sold becomes more expensive. It's hilariously making no sense at all. Oh, okay, you may say that it's for the game economy balance, or maybe you'll get some speech perks later. Still, it doesn't make sense at all. In the real world, if you bought a $300 monitor and you wish to refund it, which technically you sell back to the same vendor, the price will be the same. At some point, maybe this is not really an issue because technically the purpose is to avoid lazy grinding. You know, where you could just beat low-level enemies and sell their loot and become rich in a minute. But to me, that's actually realistic. Many game economy mechanics simply follow this formula for years, and it's just lazy, in my opinion. Instead of relying heavily on the game's item, why not rely on player skills? Like we've previously mentioned in point number 5, where to beat a certain enemy, all you need is really a skill, not an item that makes you dominate the enemy. And that's it for today, guys. 10 gameplay mechanics that absolutely make no sense. Which gameplay mechanics are hilarious, have been too widely adapted, or are simply lazy? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you enjoyed this kind of video, please hit the like button and don't forget to enable notifications. If you haven't subscribed yet, doing so would be a great help for us in growing this channel. Have a nice day and thank you for watching.